Hello, it's the Septic Shock road trip, and we have arrived in beautiful Maryland.
Maryland.
Maryland,
Maryland.
yes. That's definitely not a Maryland accent I'm using. Yes, of course, I suppose most famous son of Maryland is John Waters, right? Baltimore. He's
Right.
who
Sure.
you think of when you think Baltimore films, right? You either think of John Waters or Bodymore and The Wire,
Yeah, The Wire. That's where I go. Yeah, yeah.
or
Yeah.
maybe Barry Sonnenfeld, maybe some people, or
Sure.
is that what I'm thinking of? No, I've got the wrong Barry. Who's the guy who directed Diner?
Diner. I
Barry
don't know. I've never seen Diner.
this is
Uh,
isn't he?
Barry Levinson.
Barry Levinson, yes, that's who I was thinking of. I mean, some people might think of Barry Sonnenfeld, but they'd be wrong.
Yeah.
But there's one other very important filmmaker out of Maryland, so important that we're going to have two shows all about him. I bet you're pleased to hear that, Rob. This is Don Dohler, I believe it's pronounced. Not, is he dead? I think he might be dead. And we're talking about his, hang on, I didn't write the year down. What year is this?
What's it called, first of all?
Well, first it's called, it's always been called The Alien Factor. And it's got to be 77, is it? My memory isn't what it was.
78?
Okay.
I have 78 here.
Okay, something like that. It's good to know we're getting smoother as we go along doing this.
Right, yes.
Eventually it'll just degenerate into the two.
It released May 78, so
okay.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll just be the two of us going, huh?
Who? Again?
And it'll be just as good as now. Anyway, yes, Alien Factor, so Don Dohler made a whole bunch of these extremely low budget films, mostly in the science fiction horror category. Very much a one-man band, right? Making all these things. There's a documentary about Don Dohler, which is quite entertaining, called Blood, Boobs and Beast. And it explains, like, at some point that he is actually quite literally filming things in his backyard at some point. Like, he has a big garden, right, living in rural Maryland there, and they shot quite a bit of stuff there. But he's quite ambitious. So yeah, I think this was his first feature. This is The Alien Factor. And had you seen any Don Dohler movies before, Ron?
No, definitely not.
It's all new to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically a spacecraft crash lands in the woods, right? We don't know what it is, but something has crash landed in the woods. And there's a couple, so I'm going to be, because again, we were late recording this, so I watched this a little while ago.
Yeah, I'm looking at like a slideshow of images from the movie, and it's sort of vaguely coming back to me.
Yes, and as well as there's something loose in the woods. There's some monsters, right? There's like one sort of Gillman looking thing, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
And then the most memorable monster in this film, I guess, is there's like one really tall monster, right? That
yeah.
looks like a man in a monster suit, like on stilts.
On stilts. I think he was on stilts. Yeah.
It's quite cool because they've gone that extra mile, right?
Something interesting. Yeah, something different.
Yeah. Although I've noticed the perspective on him changes quite a few times during the.
Sure. Yeah.
There's one point when he's up against like a knocking on a door or something, and he's either they have really tall doors in Maryland, or he's like normal size all of a sudden. It's anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So that's going on. And then another man turns up to offer his services, right, to catch the aliens. And spoilers, I guess, turns out that in fact the spacecraft that crashed was some sort of like a intergalactic zoo or prison or something, right, for different aliens which crash landed and all that. So this guy is also an alien, and basically he's catching it. I was watching it this time. It struck me, I think this film must have been a big influence on the film Critters.
Oh yeah. Mm.
Because isn't
Okay.
Critters basically the critters, aren't they? Don't they escape from like a prison ship and then they crash land on Earth and then they send the two bounty hunters, right?
But I mean, is it because it was specifically inspired by this movie, or just that's kind of a tropey kind of idea of like?
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out. I was trying to think where the trope began. I'm guessing probably in a science fiction novel or short story, right?
Yeah. I think it's probably not been done before.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure if it was done before. I was trying to think, like, because there were a lot of 50s stuff, obviously, but I couldn't think of specifically this, like, escape from interactive prison setup. So I'm wondering if this might be, it might actually, you know, the makers of Critters drive in or something, and we're like, oh, we'll, half remember it or deliberately pinch the idea. But yeah, since, of course, you know, it does seem more like a trope now, I guess, than when it was, you know. And there's also the other thing that's released, I suppose, there's some like stop motion dinosaurs, right? Which are very well, they explain that they're transparent. They say, oh, they're transparent through some reptilian monsters or whatever. And I was curious about this. I couldn't get a handle on it, but I was wondering if this was a bit of post-dubbed dialogue to cover up for the fact that that effect hasn't been done properly, because that happens to a lot of low budget films, right? When they try and do that kind of blue screen effects, they end up looking kind of see-through, right? Like
right.
Like even some big movies have that problem. Even some of the, I seem to remember, like even as late as maybe Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which I think was a huge budget.
Yeah.
Remember, there's like a plane crash or some scene in that where it's like you watch it in HD and it like really obviously doesn't look convincing. You can tell.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
So I'm guessing if they decided to go back and rather than to address it and just say, oh yeah, they're transparent aliens. Which, quite clever, quick fix.
Right.
And the mayor, it's all very kind of Jaws. The mayor doesn't want to cause a problem because he's some activity park, whatever that is being built. But of course, the sheriff, the no-nonsense sheriff, and his deputies want to get down, hunted out, and a band called Atlantis plays in a bar for a while to waste a bit of time. But so it's very much, we'll probably be watching quite a lot of these. It's very much your mid-70s drive-in regional monster movie with very kind of local characters, right, and flavor. And how did you get on with it? I thoroughly enjoy. I like these kind of films. I like these.
Right.
How did you get on with the alien factor?
One thing before I go on to that, I just looking at the trivia. It says it was actually shot in 1972, but not released until 1978.
Oh, is that right? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So just so you know, I think I got on better with the second one that we're going to talk about. I think that was a little better. This was a bit of a lot of filler in this one. I mean, I like Rubber Monsters as much as the next guy and the Z grade movies. So I mean, I'm all for people doing it themselves and making their want to make a movie and they do it themselves and that. But it was quite sometimes parts were quite a slog to get through, right? I think it was a lot of filler there. I mean, just to give you a point, like I'm looking at IMDb right now, and IMDb, it has like a parent's guide.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, parent's guide, and the violence and gore of this horror movie is mild. Right, so so like even the horror movie, which is about monsters coming and killing people, couldn't even get above a mild, right? So I mean, it was just like, yeah, it definitely could have used a little bit more action, I guess, right? Yeah, so
I get the feeling that the audience, I think Night Beast, which we'll get to, might have been pitched to an older audience. This feels like it might have been
for kids
designed, yeah, for family viewing, right? So everyone,
yeah, like a Saturday afternoon, something or other, right? Yeah, so yeah, so
like
but
I said,
I mean,
I have a song, just to quote to myself, I wrote, it's very slow, badly acted, and somewhat inept, but what charming regional monster movie favorite isn't? So I think that kind of sums up my feeling.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I see all the problems, but I don't care because this
care
is
that much, right? Yeah,
this is my comfort food, right? This is
sure. Okay, good. Yeah. It definitely. Yeah, I kind of didn't get on quite as well with it because it was just a little too slow for me. I like rubber monster movies and people doing them themselves, but I think I just wanted a little bit more to happen. It felt really filler. It was like probably could have been 20 minutes shorter, at least. But yeah, it was good for them for trying something different. They tried for like it was trying for a twist ending. I mean, it sort of like you saw it coming like the first 5 minutes or whatever it is, but
yeah,
like the stranger in town and whatever, and ended up being one of the sort of, I guess, the zookeeper or the whatever you want to call it, whatever.
yes.
So
yeah,
but not that it was particularly well hidden twist, but good for them for trying for one. You know what I mean? So or good for Dawn for trying for it, right? So yeah. So I mean, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I've seen better, but I've also seen worse. So it was okay.
I like the tall alien. I always remember the tall alien from the first.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
kind of different. And
Yeah.
I suppose these kind of things as well, they live and die really on whether they're charming or not, right? And I think this does have the charm, right? I think
it's charm.
Yeah.
Sure.
There was a sequel as well in 2001. I've never actually seen Alien Factor 2, but there was a sequel. And did you listen to the commentary track by any chance?
No, I didn't.
Okay, commentary tracks, I mean, it's there's few really worth listening to, right? But the Alien Factory commentary track is quite fun. It's kind of hosted by, so I was speaking about John Waters earlier, an actor who kind of connects the two is George Stover. He's the guy who plays the Doctor and pretty much plays exactly the same role in. Actually, everyone plays exactly the same role in Night.
Right.
Sheriff for the Mayor, and everyone does pretty much the same thing. George Stover is in early John Waters films as well, and for what they did for the commentary track for the Alien Factor, he kind of hosts it, but they cut to lots of different people who were involved in the film sharing their memories of it. And if you enjoyed Alien Factor, I think you'd really enjoy the commentary track's fun because it doesn't feel like people who are forcing themselves to sit down and go through this thing, and they've done it over and over again, and you can tell each person this is like maybe their only chance to set the record straight or tell their little story about the production. You can tell everyone's pleased to be there, everyone enjoys telling their story, and that kind of patchwork quilt kind of approach is unusual for a DVD commentary. So I enjoyed just putting it on in the background and listening to the commentary track as much as I enjoyed the film. So I would recommend people check out the commentary track as well.
Okay. Next time.
So once again, something has crash landed in the woods of Maryland.
I see a pattern.
Yes. But this time it's only one monster this time, right? Rather than a menagerie. But it's a good monster. It's a very toothy, bug-eyed thing that looks like it's on its way to like a disco or something. He's wearing this kind of zoot suity looking spangly thing. and he's got a laser gun. He's got like a disintegrator gun. So, and he enjoys having shootouts with the local cops, and he, also bites people and tears their arms and heads off, and they definitely upped the gore factor for 1982's NIGHTBEAST. So yeah, I mean,
this one got a moderate.
Yes, pretty much the same thing, really.
Basically, yeah.
With the same sheriff looking a bit older, the same mayor as well. George Stover wearing, I think he's just wearing the same white gown he had, doctor's gown from the probably
Right.
just out of mothballs, right? And so, but you said you got on with this one a bit better.
I think it. I mean, yeah, I think it moved along a bit. It was still quite slow, but at least it had that kind of really big, exciting opening sequence, which kind of came out of nowhere. Where it's just this big, like, comes in and just starts blasting everybody, and it's very kind of exciting, and yeah, it's hard to keep up that pace, I guess, whatever. But it kind of just then after that kind of slows to a crawl. But I think at least it had that piece to kind of like keep it going, right? So whereas the other one was just felt slow the whole way through.
Isn't it? Peaks a bit too early, NIGHTBEAST. Like,
yeah, I think they could have saved that for a little bit later in the movie or the climax or the ending, right?
Because usually these films do it the other way around. You're like, oh, come on, show the fucking...
They do.
But this one's just front and center. Bah! Tooth monster, and he has a gun, and you've got these kind of quite cool, low budget 80s digital effects, and I bet Nicholas Winding Refn would love this kind of... I mean it's pretty much, it's the same thing again, but with more gore and some more awkward kind of gratuitous nudity as well. The action just stops for a...
Oh yeah, this is the one that has like the two really the sex scene with the two like ugliest people in the cast.
I think that's slightly mean, Ron, but
but definitely, like, it was supposed to be like two, like, kind of like, usually it's the sexy, it was like just pick like this, like, totally, I don't know, I was like, oh, this is
regular folk getting it on, let's put it that
what's
way.
that?
Regular folk getting it
on. Folk getting it on, that's for sure. So definitely not it wasn't really the people you would expect to be, but
no, it's the sheriff and his deputy, and like in the middle of all this they suddenly realize that they fancy each other.
They fancy each other, but
so they stop, have a time.
You're a beautiful woman, right?
Right, it is quite amusing. Yes, certainly more amusing than like the supposed running joke is, that don't call me Bernie, like literally drove that one into the ground, right? And then of course, well, the interesting thing about NIGHTBEAST as well is I'm wondering, it's probably had more eyes on it over the years because a certain very famous, now extremely famous, big Hollywood person worked on it. I think it's like his first credit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, J.J. Abrams, right? That's right. I forgot about that.
16-year-old J.J. Abrams did the music.
The music, which was actually a fair. I think that's the other reason why it stood out. It was a fairly decent soundtrack, as opposed to a lot of movies this way. So I mean, good for JJ he obviously worked pretty hard on it. So it was actually one of the best things about this movie. What that was, the soundtrack actually was pretty decent, and it was more kind of it wasn't just like beep beep boop boop beep beep boop, but like some kind of synthesizer. Like there was layer to it, and we obviously he had thought it out quite well. So so obviously JJ showing off his vision before he was able to do it other way around, right? So so good for him.
I mean, you do wonder how many people are, looking through his kind of filmography were like, oh, what's this NIGHTBEAST?
NIGHTBEAST,
what did they make of
I'd love to see. I haven't seen many interviews with JJ, but I wonder if he ever mentions this movie or if he talks about it.
Well, I was thinking it really links up with what
Super 8?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I was struggling the title for. I mean, Super 8, the kids are basically making Night Beast, really, I suppose.
Yeah,
aren't they?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure when Don Dohler died, but I'm wondering if he ever got a chance to see Super 8 and what he.
Yeah, he died in 2006.
I think Super 8 came out after that. I
Did
think.
it?
Yeah, Super 8. I don't know. My sense of what's recent in cinema.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
Super
feel it.
2011. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
It
it's a
did come out
shame.
after it.
It would be nice
Yeah.
if Don Dohler could have got to see Super 8. You could imagine he
Mm.
probably would have got a kick out of, this young kid that he.
Yeah. The guy who did music for Night Beast, and now he's
Yeah.
like one of the biggest, filmmakers in the world now. So yeah.
Yeah. He should put. I don't know if George Stover is still alive, but J.J. Abrams should put him in one of his
Yeah,
films.
right.
The Doctor wearing the same lab coat.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So yeah, we won't belabor the point. I think Night Beast. I think you're right. I think if you're interested in the world of Don Dohler, I think Night Beast is probably the better gateway drug, maybe just because it does have more of the exploitation elements, and you can imagine,
Sure.
Getting yourself a pizza and a 6-pack or something, get some friends, you'd have fun with Night Beast, right? And it was. I seem to remember it having that kind of life on video.
I'm just reading some of the trivia for this movie. And have you seen the movie Mandy with Nicolas Cage and Andy Riceborough?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently in that movie they're watching this movie.
Oh, is that right? That sounds about right. That sounds like something they would put in that film, because that film is made by people who love these kind of films.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then there we go. That's our Don Dohler double bill part 1 done with. We shall return another 2 Don Dohler works next time, and then we'll wrap up Maryland with 1/3 non-Dohler double bill, I think.
Okay. And are we doing just Baltimore, or are we doing just Maryland in general?
Well, I don't think this is Baltimore, right?
No, it isn't. That's why are we doing a show that's just Baltimore, or is it?
I think
you're doing 3 general Maryland.
Yeah, I maybe the last 2. I think one of them at least might be somewhere around Baltimore.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Till then.
Don't
call me Bernie. I missed Ron, and it was a good one. So take it away, Ron.
I said, get back in your spaceship, you hippie.
How we laughed.
That was well worth re-recording.